Welcome to Food Bank of Central New York's presentation on what are food allergies, food intolerances, and celiac disease. Before we begin, I thought it would be important to review the 9 major food allergens using this image from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. These are the 9 major food allergens that are required by law to be listed by manufacturers on their food labels. These are milk, eggs, fish, crustacean shellfish, tree nuts, peanuts, wheat, soybeans, and sesame. What is a food allergy? Well, this is when the immune system triggers a hypersensitive response to a substance, which is known as an allergen, that does not cause a reaction in most people. The allergen can be inhaled, ingested, injected, or from physical contact. So any of those foods could impact an allergy either through, example, peanuts. Peanut dust, inhaling them can trigger an allergic reaction. Obviously, eating, we eat food, we consume it. Injected, there are some vaccines that do contain eggs, so people with egg allergies would not be able to have that vaccine. Or from physical contact, so touching the peanuts or touching a food that you're allergic to could trigger an allergic response. With a food allergy, even the smallest amount of an allergen can trigger an allergic reaction. The onset can be rapid. Allergic reactions can range from mild to life-threatening, and individuals will experience symptoms every time that they are exposed. Hives can be a symptom of an allergic reaction. These are raised red lesions on the skin. They look like small welts, itch, develop suddenly after exposure to an allergen, and can develop in the throat area, which can lead to difficulty in breathing. Other symptoms are nausea, vomiting, wheezing, itching of the eyes and nose, and tingling of the lips and mouth. Anaphylactic shock. It is severe. It is a life-threatening medical emergency. It comes on suddenly and can happen up to 2 hours after exposure or ingestion to the allergen. It progresses quickly. One or more bodily systems are affected. It requires an injection of epinephrine and a trip to the emergency room. It can be fatal if it's not treated immediately. The symptoms of anaphylactic shock are a rapid drop in blood pressure, difficulty breathing due to airways narrowing, swelling of eyes, lips, and tongue, a rapid weak pulse, skin rash, hives, nausea, and vomiting. If someone is having an allergic reaction, call 911. A food intolerance is also known as a food sensitivity. It is not an allergy. Food intolerance is a gastrointestinal problem that causes someone to feel sick after eating certain foods. Symptoms usually start a few hours after eating, and the symptoms can range in severity and type. Some individuals may be able to tolerate a small amount of the food they are sensitive to. A food intolerance is not life-threatening. The symptoms of a food intolerance are gas, abdominal pain, stomach cramps, diarrhea, headache, migraine, heartburn. Now you may be saying, well, if a food intolerance is a gastrointestinal problem, why are headache and migraine on here? But if we think about what we've heard in the news over the past couple years from research, medical research, is that there is a connection between our gut and our brain. Celiac disease, also known as celiac sprue or gluten-sensitive enteropathy, and I'll explain enteropathy is a disease of the intestine, so gluten-sensitive disease of the intestine. It is an autoimmune disease, and this is when the immune system mistakenly attacks healthy cells. With celiac disease, this causes inflammation and damages the lining of the small intestine. Individuals with celiac disease must avoid barley, rye, oats, and wheat. And you can remember this by the acronym BROW. Now, barley, rye, and wheat all contain gluten. And you may be asking, well, why are oats on here if they don't contain gluten? Well, with oats, there's a very high risk of cross-contamination. Oats and wheat are grown very close to each other, so in the growing process, the oats can become contaminated. Oats can also become contaminated in the manufacturing process in the plant where the grains are processed. When someone has celiac disease, strict avoidance of gluten is essential for their nutritional health. Continuing to eat foods containing any amount of gluten will lead to damage to the small intestine. Individuals with celiac disease are at increased risk of malnutrition, lactose intolerance, neurological problems, infertility and miscarriage, loss of calcium and bone density, and cancer, to name a few. You may be wondering why this is. Well, the small intestine is where most of our food is broken down and the nutrients are absorbed. So if the small intestine is damaged, it's unable to do the job that it needs to do, so those nutrients we need are not being absorbed into our body, which increases our risk for certain diseases. In summary, an allergy is when the immune system triggers a hypersensitive response to a substance, also known as an allergen, that does not cause a reaction in most people. A food intolerance, also known as food sensitivity, is not an allergy. It is a gastrointestinal problem that causes someone to feel sick after eating certain foods. And lastly, celiac disease is also known as celiac sprue or gluten-sensitive enteropathy. It is an autoimmune disease that causes inflammation and damages the lining of the small intestine. Strict avoidance of gluten is necessary. If you're interested in more information, the following websites are very helpful. Kids with Food Allergies, FAIR, the Food Allergy Research and Education Organization, the Mayo Clinic, and the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Disease. Any questions can be directed to Food Bank of Central New York's Community Nutrition Manager at 315-437-1899, extension 275.